What's up, YouTube? So this is the first video in my van conversion series, and I picked up a Ford Econoline 2010 about a month ago with 70,000 miles on it, and it is a handicap van, so it did take some time to take out the lift, and the seats were all bolted through the frame. Had to angle grind those off. And yeah, it was a lot more work for the demolition than I thought. In my head, I was thinking, oh, one day for the lift, one day for the seats, one day for the floor. And here I am a month later, and it is empty now. There's just this metal plate that I need to take out because I want my floors to be flat and even. There's these ridges here, so I would like everything to be uniform. I also have this heater that came with the van, which I'm super stoked about. That's like one of the main problems with van life is heating and air conditioning, and luckily I have both. They'll run when the car's running, so my idea is as long as I have the vehicle well insulated, I can just turn it on, run it for a few minutes, and then be good. So next on the list for me to do, or rather my friend to do, that is a welder, is to recess this a few inches down because there's plenty of room under the car, and then the heat just comes out the top. So that will definitely give me some more space. And then also, I've been doing a lot of research lately about the insulation. And it's almost as if I'll watch one video and they seem super confident, like they know what they're talking about. And it's like, oh, okay, that's the way. And then I'll watch another one and I'll be like, wow, they're doing something completely different. Which one's right? And I'm an engineer, so I really care about doing it right, making sure it's safe, priority. That goes for as far as anything like gassing off, or if, God forbid, I was in an accident, to make sure everything is secured. Even like the weight distribution, to make sure that's even, so it's not putting extra loads on one side of the suspension instead of the other. And then biggest concern is mold and moisture getting in the van, because then I would have to just rip everything out, and that would be such a bummer. And so from all of this research that I've been doing about what's the best method for the insulation, I am going to use polyiso 1-inch foam board, and I'm going to have that directly on the metal floor. Then I'll have 3/4-inch plywood. I'm still deciding if it's going to be the marine plywood or there's a birch that I've heard good things that doesn't warp with the heat and the temperature changes. And then to have the subfloor bolted in to the frame of the car through some of the existing holes from the seat removal. And a lot of people say, including the guy at Lowe's, was that there's no need to bolt down the floor. You're going to have heavy cabinetry on top. It's not going anywhere. Well, yeah, what if, the van flips over or something? So I am just going to be extra secure. I'll use rubber washers, and I have Rust-Oleum to seal it. Perhaps I can get like a silicone sealant as well, and make sure that where the bolts are, it doesn't get rusted. I'm also going to use a wire brush to get any of this existing rust off, and repaint the floor, and add a protectant as well I have some mold and mildew protectant that I can use on the wood, as well as this spar urethane indoor outdoor protection. It protects from sunlight, rain, moisture, and temperature changes. So yeah, so that's going to be next, and then I'll have the cabinetry attached to the floor and then also to the walls. Some advice I would say is to not rush the process. Originally, I was thinking, oh, I saw this one girl and her and her dad converted the van in 1 month. Yeah, he owned an auto parts store, auto parts shop, but it's doable. 1 month. But that doesn't give you time to like go through the creative process and like learn and reestablish what it is that you actually want, and to make sure that you do it right and don't rush it. So now my timeline is looking like probably from here on out 1 more month. I already have the solar equipment, and I know how I'm going to install that. I'm just confirming the sizing of the cables. But right now, I think I'm going to use 6-gauge cables. I have 270-watt panels for 340 watts, and I'm going to use VHB tape to secure that to the fiberglass roof, because I don't want to be drilling through it. I don't want any leaks, and it's a permanent bond anyway. And I've seen a lot of people use that, and it withstands years. And I'll just add roofing tape on top of that. I have a 1,000-watt pure sine inverter. Again, originally I was thinking go big or go home, get the 3,000-watt just in case you want to run something, but it uses up more power when it's on, obviously, and I really am not going to be using anything, any big appliances like that. Like I'll get an Instapot that's a 700-watt, and like a little mini blender, and I have my phone and my tablet. I have 2 fans that are 12-volt. They can fit in that window right there. It's like 2 7-inch, I believe, fans, and they're nice. They have a clip, can just like clip onto a little shelf I'll put up there, and they can spin around. Originally, I was thinking of putting in a max air fan, again, like everybody else does, but luckily I do have windows, and I might as well use them. So yeah, another thing that I learned, soundproofing. I spent over $100 in soundproofing, thinking, yeah, I don't want this stuff to rattle, and I want it to be quiet. I'm going to spend a lot of hours in this van. And then I find out that you only need 25% of each section covered in the soundproofing. So luckily I can return one of my boxes. But yeah, continuously learning. And that is why I say to not rush the process at all. Like for instance, it was just yesterday that I got these 2x2s because I watched a video that was really convincing that the guy put the 2x2 and made framing, and then cut out the foam and put inside of the framing for the floor to save on space, I assume. But the more I researched, the more I learned that putting wood directly on the metal and living in the van, it's gonna rot. It's gonna mold, it's gonna rot, and I do not want to have all of this hard work go to waste for this van to only last like 1 year. Which is also another point, is that at first I wanted to buy an already converted van, mostly because I didn't trust my own skills. And now, after doing research and seeing people build vans that I would not want, I'm learning that I wouldn't trust anyone else more than myself to do this and do it the right way. So I'm super happy that I'm doing it myself and um, with help, doing it with my friend as well. He's helping me, but yeah, I would want to do it right, like even for like the wire sizing to make sure that the solar system doesn't like catch fire. I see people putting wires inside of their insulation instead of doing insulation and then wiring, or just like using toxic materials like pressure treated wood, which also can corrode the metal, not to mention to be like off gassing, or like the spray foam. Because what I've learned is that you really need air gaps so that if moisture does get in the walls, which it inevitably will, that it can evaporate. So, for instance, even like these kind of like rivets, it's okay. I'm just gonna put like soundproofing along here and then sit the foam board right on top. I'm not gonna add any adhesive because as the van heats up, that's gonna off gas. And yeah, allow the air gaps to do what they're meant to do. Like even with like the spray foam in the walls, people are sealing up their like drainage holes. And yeah, so I'm still deciding what to do for the walls. I might use that what's it called? Like the stuffing inside of pillows, but they call it something else. Therma something. Thermal, I can't remember the name. But yes, I'm still deciding for the walls. But the floor, super important. A lot of heat comes in through the floors. And again, I see people saying, oh, there's no point. The floors are going to be cold. There's no point in doing anything for the floors. I have no idea what they're talking about. At least like 40% of the heat loss is going to be through the floor. And yeah, so that is my update. Oh, another update, the shower. I never really wanted to have a shower inside, but again, that would be a huge huge cause for mold and moisture in the van. Even if it's ventilated, I'm sure that it's still gonna be a disaster. And so I'm gonna have an outside shower with the curtain just attached out on these back doors, and have a solar bag, which just means like a black bag clipped up to the top. And that's gonna be nice enough for me. I'm even questioning whether I need a toilet, to be honest. Oh, and the other thing with the solar, I see people putting on like 600 watts of solar on the roof, but really it comes down to the batteries and having enough battery power to where you don't need to be parking in the hot sun during the day, that you have enough like stored up. And I'm using like a Renogy MPPT charge controller that charges the batteries and also can have two inputs. So it'll have the input from the car battery as well as the solar, with the solar being the primary. So I have 300 amp hours of lithium phosphate batteries, and I think that should be plenty for my needs. I'll have a propane stove and a 12-volt refrigerator, and I'm not expecting much loads at all, which is also cool for me, being a renewable engineer and trying to live sustainably. That is my goal with doing this fan. Also, the freedom is going to be pretty nice. So yeah, there is my update so far, and you will see the progress as it happens. All right.